Okay, so hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. और रात के बज रहे हैं 7 मिनट. यार इसको इसको रीड कैसे करते हैं जरा मुझे बताना तो. ठीक है, खैर वो सब छोड़ो. Let's move on to the question. Toggle switch. See, there are n light bulbs lined up in a row in a long array. यार छोड़ो, मैं ये सब रीड क्यों कर रहा हूँ. Let me just directly explain you the question. See what is happening. There is a room and there are basically n light bulbs and each bulb is having an individual switch. Okay, and initially all these switches are at off condition. ये क्या बोल रहा हूँ मैं, are at off state. ठीक है, they all are at off state, and there are also n people, okay, which are lined up outside the entry door of the room. Okay, every ith person in the line enters the room and toggle the start of ith switch and exit the room. Given the value of n and an integer m, write a computer program to find the state of mth switch. Okay, this is what you have to do. Print on if the switch is on, otherwise you have to print off. Okay, now let me tell you what basically this question is telling us to do. See, suppose a person is standing at the first position. Okay, if he's standing at the first position outside the door, then he will be moving one steps. Okay, for example, he will go to the first switch, then he will go to the second switch, then he will go to the third switch, and he will toggle all those switches. Now let's go to the second person. Okay, the second person who is standing outside the door, he will go to the second switch, then to the fourth, then to the sixth, and then to the eighth switch, and so on. Okay, he will be moving by the steps of 2. Similarly, the person who is at the third step, he'll be moving with he will be going first. He'll be going at the third switch, then at the sixth switch, then at the ninth switch, and so on. This is the order how they're going to move. Okay, that is what we have to consider. This is the only condition which we have to consider, and we have to write our entire code. This will take just one for loop. Okay, so the time complexity of this code will also be very less. And yeah, this is the input format. First line will contain value of n, next line will contain the value of m, and in output we have to print the status of mth switch. Okay, for example, look over here, there are 10 switches. If there are 10 switches, it means there are 10 people also outside the door, and we have to tell what is the status of fifth switch. So okay, so according to the logic which I just told you right now, the person who is in the first step, who is at the first step outside the door, he will go to the first switch, then to the second, third, fourth, fifth, and he will toggle all of the switches. Okay, so initially fifth was at off state, but because of the first person, it will now become, and the switch will become on. Okay, it's now gonna be in on state. Now the second person will go to the second switch, then to the fourth switch, but it will not go to the fifth switch. It will be going to the sixth switch. Okay, same case is with the third person also, and the fourth person will also not go to the fifth switch. But the person who is at the fifth position outside the door will go to the fifth switch and he will toggle it. Okay, and because of him, now the fifth switch will once again go to the off state. That's why see, the output will be off. Switch will be off after all the 10 people toggle the switches. That is what we have to print. Okay. And before going to the code, let me just display the code. Yeah, he is, I don't know his name. What was his name? Pranav Balaji. Yeah, Pranav Balaji was the first person to submit the code. Yesterday also he was the first person. Today also is the first person. Then next we have Jay Patel. Okay, he was my classmate in first semester. Anyway, he is the second person, and this is Muralidhar. Yesterday he was the second person, but today he is the third person to submit the code. And if you want to see the leaderboard, yeah, this was the screenshot which I took. See here, Pranav Balaji was at the 5th position in leaderboard, Jay Patel 6th, Muralidhar 8th, and I was at the 10th position. Believe me, don't see my name. Okay, so now let's go to the ideally. Yeah, now see what I'll be doing is, first of all we have to take the input, right? So n is equals to input. Okay, so n, and we will take m also. Input. Okay, int is written because the value which will be given by the user will be integer format. Okay, that's why. I think you all know this. There's no need of telling this. Okay, now see, what I'll do is I'll create a variable. Factor which is equals to 0. Okay, factor equals to 0. I'll be using this variable to check whether the final state will be on or off. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Now see, as I said, I'll be running one for loop. Okay, I'll be using one for loop. So for I in range starting from 1 m plus 1, because we know that if we are using Python, then in that case the for loop will go from, if I'll not be writing m plus 1, then the value of I will be 1, 2, 3 and 4 if value of m is 5. That's why I've written over here m plus 1, because I want the for loop to run up to 1 to 5. Okay, that's why. Now see, what I'll be doing is I'll be checking whether m percentage I is equal to 0 or not. If that is the case, then I'll be increasing the value of factor by 1. Okay, now you'll be thinking why I'm checking m percentage 1. Let me consider an example and you'll understand. Suppose there are 10 switches and I have to tell the condition of the fifth switch. Okay, after all these 10 people have toggled the switches. Now see, the person at the first place will toggle the fifth switch, whereas the person at the fifth place will also toggle the switch at fifth switch, right? How can I tell this? Because see, the thing is 5 is divisible by 1, right? 5 is also divisible by 5, but 5 is not divisible by 2, 3, 4 or any other number. That's why I've written this consider over here. I written this condition over here. If m percentage I is equivalent to 0, okay, in that case I'll be increasing the value of factor by 1. And now see, if factor percentage 2 is equal to 0, then print off is print on. That's all. Why I'm doing this? See, suppose let me take this example. Value of m is 5, so here I can write 6. So what will be the value of I? I will be equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? Now see, here I can write 5 percentage 1. It is divisible by, see, 5 is divisible by 1, right? So now the value of factor will be 1. Now let us divide it by 2, it's not divisible. By 3 also it's not divisible. By 4 also it is not divisible. By 5 it is divisible. So value of factor will be increased by 1. Okay, so ultimately the final value of factor is 2. Now see, when the first person came to toggle the fifth switch, he changed this condition of he changed the state of the fifth switch from off to on. And when the fifth person came, he changed the state of the fifth switch from on to off. Right? That's what I'm doing. See, using this thing, that I'm checking whether the factor is divisible by 2 or not. If it is divisible by 2, it means its condition will be off only. Okay, but if it is not off, it is not divisible by 2. If it is an odd number, if it is because suppose if 3 persons are toggling a switch, okay, then once it will be on, then off, and then again it will become on. That's why I have written on over here. Okay, this is what it means. This is the entire code. Let me just write it correctly. This is also corrected. This is also done. Yeah. Okay, so this is the final code. I hope it was not hard. Okay, just you have to understand the logic behind it. That's all. And yeah, once again, congratulations to these people, Pranabalaji, Jai Patel and Muralidhar. And yeah, one more thing, I guess around 4 or 5 members also solved this question. Okay, and they have sent it the code also. I have tagged them on my Insta page. You can even go and check over there also. I'll provide the link in the description. And yeah, that's all. Thank you for watching the video.